So the podcast is called Before the Blow Up. So we do like to talk a lot about like your startups and stuff,
Yeah,
and like a lot of the trials and tribulations you kind of went through and
yeah,
overcame and stuff, and
yep,
like a lot of that sort of thing. We try. That's a lot of our target audience.
yep,
So we do try and discuss like not so much like heaps personal stuff like that, but
yeah,
like a lot of like
yeah.
just to get a bit more
Just get
vulnerable.
get real, so people can relate.
Yeah, 100%.
Bro,
Yep.
that's a good intro. I reckon we just run it from there. Welcome to Before the Blow Up. I reckon we go straight in, eh?
Yeah, perfect.
We got
So that being said, this is Nath Battishall, and what do you do?
Well, thanks for having me on, boys. It's been good.
pleasure to have you on. It's good.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, I own a company called Duplex Building Design, and we've got a site acquisitions business called Moss Ross Property, and I do a little bit of development type stuff as well. So definitely an entrepreneur at heart. I always looking for new ideas, new opportunities. So I'm always down for building businesses or creating new opportunities.
Awesome. Where do you think that stems from? Like, is that something you were taught, or you just sort of
The
had that?
entrepreneurial. Yeah.
Yeah, look, I think probably some of it's in my own makeup, but I think a lot of it comes down to the fact, um, especially my dad. Dad was always very entrepreneurial. He'd always give things a crack. We were taught to take risks in our life. So from a young age, I tried different things. I knew what I wanted to do at the age of 13. I knew I wanted to own an architectural business at the age of 13. So it made sort of my high school years a little bit difficult because the school side of it was hard because I already knew what I wanted to do. But it also gave me a head start too because I was able to put some things in place for my future as well.
What were the kind of things that you were putting in place at 13?
Uh,
Architectural business.
yeah, so my dad bought me my first drawing board when I was 13. So I started drawing house plans when I was in year 7.
Yeah.
It's kind of
So-
cool.
Jeez.
Yeah, so
I honestly I didn't know that because I've known you for ages. I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
really know that was kind of the thing. I thought it was just one day you kind of stumbled because I remember when where were you? You were here. I think you were down here when I remember I came to your house one day and you were just doing uni or you doing your degree or something like
Yeah.
that. Did you get your degree earlier or because I thought you were like you already had your kids.
yeah, like I did my study when I was before I got married or anything like that. So I did a little bit of study while I was still in school. But when I went to school, it was like early 2000s when I was in year 11 and 12. So you couldn't do TAFE at school like you can now. Like
Yeah.
it's unreal now. Like I got a daughter in high school now, and the stuff she can do in school is unreal. Like you can get half a TAFE course, in school. I couldn't do that. So yeah, but like because I had so much experience, so I was able to get some time knocked off my studies purely due to life experience
Yeah.
because I was already working for designers. I was doing engineering work for my dad. I could do a full set of house plans before I even got out of school. So I feel like that set me up, gave me a bit of a leg up.
Yeah, that's honestly amazing because I was a third year apprentice as a Friggy, and I struggled with plans, house plans, like
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
And we don't have to do really architect stuff, but you got to be able to read and understand. And for you to do that 13 is honestly like astounding.
Yeah.
Like, that's like ridiculous, dude. So
Yeah, well, it's good. My mum used to buy me magazines at the newsagents. Obviously, Instagram wasn't in the early 2000s.
dude, I
It was all
even
it was all
bored.
it was all magazines. So mum would buy me like house magazines, and you just flick through house plans. And I used to love going into the new housing estates, and you walk into the display rooms, and you'd look at like all the house plans, and. So I used to love doing that sort of stuff as well. So it just gave me a passion for what I wanted to do, I guess, with my career.
Yeah, cool, man.
Yeah.
Why, as a 13-year-old, why did you want to be an architect? Like, I feel like most 13-year-olds, I want to race for Red Bull, skateboarding,
Yeah, yeah.
scootering. Like, why an architect?
Yeah, look, it's strange. I don't even know how. I don't even know how I stumbled upon it. I think I just, dad. I used to watch my dad. Like my dad owned an engineering business in a little town called Narromine, actually where Isaac
Yeah, yeah.
was born and bred.
Never mind.
Yeah, a little town west of Dubbo. It's
Josh grew up in Cowra.
Yeah, I'm a Cowra
oh,
boy.
there you go. So we're all Western region boys.
We are all Westies.
Yeah. So now living on the coast. So, yeah, for me, my dad used to have a big drawing board. So I used to watch it was a different type of drawing. My dad did engineering drawings, but I just fell in love with,
Is that like schematic diagrams, that
yeah,
sort of thing?
yeah. So he'd do mechanical engineering type work and really detailed engineering based stuff. My mind's not so much engineering based. I just loved houses. I love building as well, but I just didn't really feel like I wanted to be a builder. I wanted to be someone who could boss builders around, maybe. I don't know. So that's
Entrepreneur coming out.
yeah, that's it. So, and I just did lots of little stuff. Like Dad used to let us do some of our own veggie gardens and stuff as a
Yeah.
kid. So I reckon back to that question on like what made me entrepreneurially, I think some of that had played a role in it because Dad sort of taught us, hey, here's a little bit of land. What can you do with it? So, my sister and I, we used to help with the veggie garden and stuff like that. And we used to sell some of the stuff as well. So, some of that stuff gets in you as a young kid.
Yeah.
And then a lot of it comes naturally then.
Yeah.
And I was taught to be a risk taker as well. I used to, I feel like I've always been a bit of a risk taker. Like sometimes that can be a bad thing, but I teach my kids, like I want my kids to be risk takers. I want them to actually try things. And, someone's once said to me that, it's not failure if you fall over. Failure is when you just choose not to get up.
Yeah.
So I treat my business life, I treat my personal life a little bit like that I don't want to die wondering. I want to try stuff. I want to, if I've got an idea in me, I want to try and do it, even if it doesn't
absolutely.
work. I've had heaps of stuff not work. But quite often I've found stuff that does work when I've been, after 4 or 5 times of things not working. And, everyone sees your successes, but they don't see all the,
All the
the
failures.
stumbles you've had to try and get to where you've had to get.
That being said, like going along the path of coming out of high school and what do you know when the first business you started was like, or what that was, or
Yeah. Yep.
or the risks you took around that?
I do. I was 19, just before I turned 20. I started my first business. Basically, the architect that I was working for in Dubbo had to close his business down, and it was either basically start my own business or move away. Now, I didn't want to move away at that point. I wanted to stay around. I think Isaac's family just moved to Narromine, so Big Ben was my bit of a role model to me, Isaac's dad. So I wanted to, I wanted
Betty Staines.
Benny Staines. So I wanted to rub shoulders with him, and he was great for me in that space. So I started my own business at a very young, quite a young age, 20. But like at that age, the problem was my dad had a lot of experience in business.
Why was that a problem?
It wasn't a problem, but I think at that age, I was probably not willing to listen to some of the advice and wisdom my dad had for me. So like I tried to grow too quick. I spent too much money on my office, and like I made some decisions that within about 2 years, my business went bankrupt.
Really?
Yeah. So I lost, a lot of money. Looking back, it's made me who I am.
How did you crawl back from that?
Oh, look, it was tough, like, because you deal with a lot of stuff. When you lose a business and you go bankrupt, you deal with a lot of stuff. You deal with obviously having to pull yourself out of a financial hole. I had to deal with the fact that, hey, I made dumb choices. So I had to actually own some of my choices.
If I may ask, what were some of those choices?
I think, like, just little things like my dad would say things like, and he said it, at that age, I thought I knew it all. And if hindsight was a great thing, I'd do a lot of things different.
Yeah.
But I think losing it all taught me a lot about who I was. So some of the things I learned were very much just about have good people in your corner and actually listen to them, take on advice. If you're not good at things, get people around you who are good at things. Don't neglect things if you're not good at it. Like at that point in my life, I wasn't good with bookkeeping. I wasn't good with tracking numbers. I wasn't good with keeping on top of that. So I'd see money coming in, so I'd just spend it as quick as it came in. Then all of a sudden, next thing you know, I've got bills that couldn't be paid, or I've got tax especially that couldn't be paid. So, you know. Yeah, so, and you deal with a lot of stuff. Like for me, I dealt with a lot of shame because you feel like a failure. You walk around, you know, like you're a failure because you had a business that fell over. Like for a long time, I wasn't uh, confident to talk about my failure, whereas now I talk about it everywhere I go. Whenever I talk to other business people and people coming through, I mentor a couple of business people now, young guys, and I talk about my failures. I don't carry it. I don't carry it like a shame now. Actually carry it like a battle wound that happened, but I bounced back from it. So, and
What was that mindset shift? Like, what was the point in time where you're like, no, I can actually use this for better to help people?
Yeah, I think I definitely struggled with shame as well. So I'm
Yeah.
very interested to know like what got you over the line in that.
I think
respect.
I probably there was a part of me that I can be a bit of a people pleaser. Like that's my nature. I like people to be happy. I like people to like me. But in life, you're going to get people that are going to knock you, people that are going to bag you, people that that are going to look at your past, not your future.
Yeah.
So I guess for me, a big factor was actually not caring what other people thought and actually deciding that, hey, that that's something that happened to me in my life. And the reality is most people have, you know, disappointing things that happen in your life. Just a lot of people don't talk about it and they're not real about it and they don't own it. So for me, actually, one of the biggest powers and strength in my life came when I actually owned it. And part of me owning it was actually feeling like I could start to talk about it. Once I started to talk about it, it freed me up. It actually, for a long time, I was too afraid to fully go all out in business again because I felt like that disqualified me for the rest of my business life.
Yeah.
So for quite a while, I just played a safe game. I'd go as far as saying for about probably 10 years.
Really?
And I was doing other things in my life in that time, you know, but I've always had business in the background. No matter what I've done in my life, I've always had small businesses in the background. Yeah, so for me, I guess, yeah, a lot of it for me was basically just being real in the fact that, hey, this happened in my life. I don't need to be ashamed about it because a lot of businesses fail. And, you know, you hear stories about some of the most successful business people in the world, just about the amount of famous, successful business people, I'm talking billionaires, the amount of them that have failure stories as well when you read their books is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think, yeah, not caring what people thought and just just staying true to who I am. And yeah, but I found once I was able to own that, it gave me the ability to dream again and believe again and not to play a small game.
Yeah, absolutely. It's powerful, man. Do you think that mindset helped you scale this business you have now like a lot?
Yeah, definitely. Like I found a lot of my failures have helped me actually build and scale this business. Like it wasn't until about 3.5, 4 years ago that I decided to really give this business a red hot crack, that I wanted to scale it into something exciting.
What shifted your mindset around from going from, because you have 5 locations? Is that 5 offices?
Yeah, we've got a location in Kiama here where we're filming, Ulladulla, Sydney, and Newcastle. Yeah, so
Yeah, right, okay.
four.
Four.
Yeah, four at the moment. Hopefully more.
Yeah, for sure. And what was the shift in your mindset from going from, okay, just a smallish business to let's scale this thing?
Look, I always had a bit of an itch I wanted to scratch. I've always built stuff, you know, whether that be building businesses, building community groups. You know, my wife and I planted churches. We've done heaps of different stuff in our life, you know. So whatever we've done, we've always enjoyed building stuff, building something. So for me, business was one of those things. I'd always had small businesses, like I'm talking like me and maybe a couple of staff.
Yeah.
I'd never fully scaled something up. So,
What does scaling a business entail?
look, essentially for me, scaling a business is very much looking at, you know, getting a small business and basically adding structure to it so that it can not only grow, but eventually build a business where it can actually run and thrive without you.
And
So,
is that managemental structure or what kind of structure are you talking?
yeah, look, a lot of it's sort of, leadership structure, building systems within the business so it can, some of it runs with automation, some of it runs with people. But, essentially, I'll give you an example like our design. My old business mentality is I did all the design for clients. So everyone wanted to deal with me. Whereas now I don't even do it a single design. Like, like I had a client come to me only recently and said, "Oh, I want you to design our property." And I said, "I don't do any. I don't do any of the design. My team do it all." In fact, my own developments, I don't even design my own developments. Like we're just about to finish one of my own property developments in Flinders in Shell Harbour. My head designer Maria designed it. I didn't even design it. So when I told my client that, I said, "Look, if I trust my team to design my stuff, you can be assured that I'm going to trust my team to do your stuff." So, for me, that's what scaling a business is. It's to be able to realize the business doesn't just have to revolve around you. So for me, it's getting amazing people around us who get our heart, get our culture, and people who have a vision and a dream to want to do great work.
Well, yeah, I think that for me, when I really struggle with leading other people to work around me, like I know I'm not at the point where I want to scale a business yet, but when I do, how did you, I guess, lead your team to be able to trust them that much? How did you do that?
Oh, look, I feel like Mel and I have always been fairly good at releasing people to do what they do. I know a lot of people in my life I've met who always say to Mel and, "Oh, you guys are so good at just trusting people." I know a couple of our staff who've come on our team weren't able to do half of what they're able to do with the previous employers. Because I've always believed that people learn and people get good at what they do by being able to make mistakes. And I think that's where a lot of people can't scale a business or scale an organisation, is because they're either perfectionists or they're not willing to let go. So they're not willing to let people make a mistake, or they're not willing to let people grow. I look at all of my growths come through making mistakes. Yeah. So much of my life, I've been able to get good at different things I do by getting it wrong. So, for me, to be a good leader, I truly believe that I need to create some environments and space for people that I'm bringing through and leading to be able to have the same opportunity. And my thoughts are, when you do that, you accelerate people's growth way quicker than if you would have micromanaged them for 10 years. Like I truly believe, like, you can grow people in their skill set, in their, in what they do. Like sometimes in 2 years, that might have taken 6-7 years if you completely micromanage them. And, not many people want to be micromanaged. That's the reality, the world we live in. Especially in our space, it's a creative space. People want to be able to express themselves in a creative way. And, so that's just something I've found in my life.
Yeah. Do you guys ever butt heads with the design? I'm sure you still look over a lot of them.
Yeah.
But you don't ever butt heads with employees, or?
Yeah, look, we have disagreements. Like we see things differently. But there's times I've just I'll look at some designs some of my team do, and I don't personally like it. But a lot of it's a personal preference. So for me, like sometimes I'll speak up, but sometimes I'll go, "You know what? Let's just wait and see. The client might like it." And sometimes there's things I don't like, but then the client's like, "I love it." Like, wow, imagine if I spoke up and completely changed that design, and then the client's like, "Nah, I hate it." So yeah, look, we butt heads, but we've got a bit of a culture in our office that we're solution bringers.
Yeah,
it's easy to point out a problem, but it's even better to point out a solution. And I just find by bringing in the right people who, like, we've got a bit of a culture among our design team anyway where they collaborate. And often it's not even with me. Like I'll be sitting in my office here and I might see 2 or 3 of our team just chatting, sitting around a computer, like looking at a design. Like one of our staff might have said to 2 or 3 of our team, like, "Hey, can you come and have a look at this? You got any feedback? Got any ideas?" And that's why I say to a lot of our clients, like quite often when you're getting a design, you're not getting one person's experience. You might be getting 10, 20, 30 years of combined experience looking into a project, because we collaborate.
Yeah.
And, like I feel like all of our team, like we've all got egos, but look, generally I find most people have got big shoulders in our team, where if the rest of the crew say, "Oh, look, I don't think you've hit the mark there," or like most people, like, you get a bit of a bruised ego, but generally most of the guys are great. Like they've developed a team first mentality rather than it's all about my ego. Like it's about creating an amazing product for our client.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like we've been blessed and lucky to have a team that just get that. Yeah.
Have you ever brought anyone on that didn't have that same vision as the team and wouldn't listen to feedback? And
Yeah.
how did you deal with that?
Yeah, definitely. Like I've made the mistake at times over the years. Like we've got 17, 18 staff, so we've got a big team. But look, especially over the last 3 or 4 years, like I've made a few mistakes with hires where I've hired the wrong people.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone we've hired have been great people, but just some people just don't fit where you're going as a company. They don't fit your culture, because everyone brings their own unique culture to a team. And it's not like we're trying to change people, but I've probably realised more than ever now, when we hire people, we need to hire people for culture, and we need to hire people on character more than we do on competency and skill.
Yeah, that was my next question, is how did you build this culture that you, I guess, pride yourself on almost?
Yeah, look, Mel and I, we're not the sort of people that sit around having meetings 24/7. In fact, we rarely have meetings. Maybe my team would say otherwise, but I feel like we've got a good culture because it's just something we live. It's something we breathe. And a lot of our culture is very releasing, and it's very freeing. I'm not a big micromanager, so I don't like being micromanaged. So I try to lead that way. So I guess we've tried to do that. And look at some of our culture. Yeah, we're not one of those companies that sit there and have heaps of meetings teaching culture. It's just something we try and just make sure people catch it. It's something you learn from Benny Staines, that a lot of culture and vision is caught, it's caught, it's not taught. It's not, you could sit there and try and drum it into someone, or you can just live it and be a true leader and let your team catch that culture and that vision that you want to develop. What my wife Mel, maybe you'll get her on at some point. She's great. Like she's one of the most fun people in a company, because she just brings life. Like if you look at our Insta story today on our company, you'll see her dancing, in the office. She just brings such a fun vibe to our environment. She just carries that. Because she carries that, everyone else starts to, it makes people feel relaxed. It makes people have fun and realise, the workplace isn't just for serious stuff either. We want people to enjoy it and have fun. My head designer, Maria, is Colombian. She's in Colombia at the moment. She's working remotely for a month in Colombia, because of what we do and because of the type of designer she is, and the trust that I've built in her. She can go and visit family at the moment in Colombia for over a month, working, but also having fun and seeing family.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that's another part of our culture. Like we try to realise people have lives too, and we don't want work to be a burden. We want them to actually love their life and love their job and love working with us.
Absolutely.
And we just try and do the best we can to make that part of our culture.
Yeah, absolutely. That's cool, man. That's cool. That's so interesting with the designing. You also property manage, no?
Not so much property managed, no. Like, so I've always had a bit of a passion for property development too.
That's it. Property development, my bad.
Yeah. So look, it was probably 4, 5, maybe 5 years ago now. It was.
Wait, what is property development?
Yeah.
Actually, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. So property development is essentially finding a site, a block of land, for example, or a property, and looking at the potential of what you can do with that property. So there's all different types of property development. I'm personally passionate about residential property development. So that can be looking at a block of land and saying, I can fit 3 townhouses on that. Or, for example, I've in the last 12 months bought a farm in Dubbo just on the outskirts of Dubbo. We can do 45 blocks of land. So it's looking at, and again, this is the entrepreneur in me. I've always been love looking at the potential of something. And the same in people. When Mel and I ran churches and stuff, and it's nothing's changed now. I love seeing the potential in people. I always used to say there's gold in the garbage. There's no one on this earth that's a complete waste of space. There's always gold in every person you look at. It's just some people you got to dig a bit deeper to find it. And it's the same for me with property development. There's gold out there. There's sites all around us. I could be driving and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I'm going to have a look at that. Now I can knock on the door and say to the person, hey, are you interested in selling this property?
So you got a good sales pitch.
Yeah. I guess because I'm a country boy, grew up in the country, I feel like I'm not too salesy, so you can have a really good, just chilled out chat with someone.
Yeah.
That's not too pushy. Like it's not pushy like a real estate agent, and you can just build up a conversation and say, hey, have you thought about selling your property, or and you can then get chatting about that. So. Yeah, so I guess about 5 years ago, I just realised I'm like, wow, all the clients I'm working for are investors, property developers, builder developers, and I'm like, I'm sitting here doing their projects, helping them create these amazing projects. And I'm like, again, it was back to that risk thing where there was a little part of me that was a bit afraid to take a step out in that regard because of some of my past of failing. So I might have jumped over that hurdle with my business, but then I needed to also jump over that hurdle with my property development journey. And, because it's, for me, because I lost a business at a young age, it took a long time for me to be able to get finance.
Yeah.
Yeah, how does
Because
that
banks
go?
don't want to touch you once you've, gone bankrupt or you've failed. So, not many, I always laugh that, my wife, Mel, I married Mel when I had nothing. I lost everything. So I got married at that point in time. That's why, but with my wife, I respect her so much because she stuck with me when I lost everything, when I had to, get out of the pit and work my way back up. So, and that's where it makes a big difference when you got people in your life, who will stick with you in your dark moments. Yeah, so I had to jump through that disappointment of reliving that moment. So I had to go, hey, this is a new day. I can do this property development stuff. So that's when I started to do it. And I've done a couple of projects now, and I've got another one just about to finish. I've got a couple more on the horizon, and I've also set up another company now called Moss Ross with a partner, where we go and acquire off-market development sites for all of our clients all around at the moment, just New South Wales. But it's exciting. We're looking at potential. We're finding sites. For me, it just goes, like I said, it goes back to that passion I've always had for seeing potential in something. You can see potential in things. You can see potential in people. And I just think when you love that, it's no longer a job.
Yeah.
It's not a job.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't feel like you're working.
No.
Perfect.
For me, that's why I love it, because this isn't a job to me. I love this stuff. It gets me up in the morning. Yeah. I'm obviously passionate about other stuff outside of work, but yeah, for me, this is not so much a job. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm passionate about it. Yeah.
As a development, what's the term?
Property developer.
Property developer. Is that I'm assuming you're doing that as an investment type thing.
Yeah.
Talk about the upside of that as an investment, because I feel like obviously people nowadays looking at crypto. I mean, stocks has been around forever and a day. People invest in real estate, but I feel like you don't you don't really hear about property development as an investment from everyday people.
Yeah. Yeah, look, for me, property, it's definitely an investment and it's a way to build wealth. Um, I guess the thing, not that I've dabbled much in crypto, but I guess for me, the thing I love about property, um, if you look at the history of property, even in Australia, like on average, property doubles every 7 to 10 years. Obviously, that fluctuates year to year, but if you look at the last 60, 70 years of property in Australia,
It's going up.
on average, it doubles every 7 to 10 years. If you look at the history of it.
Why do you think that is? Why does property double?
Oh, look, I don't know. You've got me there. Look, I think just because land is scarce, so to speak, especially in bigger centres. Land's scarce, and like where I live here in Kiama, for example, like capital growth is crazy in Kiama, more so in Kiama than say down the road at Tullumbar or Albion Park. The reason is because there's so much more land, they can build more houses in Albion Park. So therefore, land's not as valuable there because it's going to keep growing. There's more opportunity. Whereas somewhere like Kiama, it's a beautiful coastal regional town, but there's hardly any land left to build on in Kiama. So that's why the growth of Kiama, you look at the history of growth here, it grows, the capital growth over that property is so much better because there's less opportunities.
Simply supply and demand, really.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, so, sometimes you get lucky with your developments, but, it's important to do your research as well. But you can make, by doing property, and if you do it smart, for me, I'm a risk taker, but at the same time, I run strict numbers when looking at a site. I work off conservative numbers. I look at worst case scenarios. I don't buy into the hype. So I make sure that if we're getting a site, or even I even try and have the same mentality for my clients. When we're getting a development site, we make sure that it's like, for example, we work off, the lowest possible sales outcome. Just because a real estate agent tells me we're going to get $1.2 million for each townhouse or each duplex, we're not going to go off that. We're going to get the comparables for the last 3-4 months. Then we're going to take even 6-7% off that. We just run really conservative numbers so that even if the development falls apart a bit and things don't work out, that the build costs blow out, that the sales take a bit longer, or we've got to drop the price, because we run really conservative numbers, it still makes great money. Now, if everything goes really perfectly, that means there's even more profit, more upside. Whereas I find, because we live in such an instant world now, everyone wants everything yesterday, and people are impatient, and people I'm amazed some people I've met who they just take a real estate agent's word for it, or they don't go and do their own research. So next thing you know, they're in such a big panic. Yeah. Because they haven't run their numbers. They've run everything on best case scenario, and then some things don't go to plan. And next thing you know, I'm not even going to break even on this project. Whereas there's a smarter way to do it. So yeah, that's sort of how I work.
Yeah, it's that under promise, over deliver.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. That's 100% it. And just, yeah, I think a lot of people could do well just being conservative on their numbers. And it means you might say no to 10 properties and yes to one instead of the other way around. Yeah. I think just people can just get a bit impatient. And look, I'm the worst of that. I'm not a patient person by nature. I've got to go right against my natural inclination. I want to do everything yesterday. If I get an idea, I want to do it now. I don't want to do it in two weeks or 2 months.
Yeah, absolutely.
Same.
Yeah. And look, it's part of being an entrepreneur. I think it's what makes me tick. I've just had to learn though about certain things, especially when it comes to numbers and money, and when it comes to investment, that I've got to go against that tendency in me that just wants to press go rather than be patient and do all my due diligence to make sure that it's the right deal. Yeah. And again, a lot of that comes back to me stuffing it up at 20. 21 years old, where I lost a business like that. That's why I look back now and I'm like, that was one of the most valuable lessons I learned. Like for me, I probably wouldn't change it now going back, because I've learned so much now that accelerated parts of my growth as in my adult years
Yeah.
down to that. So, I just think when I see people at rock bottom, I'm like, that's okay. That's often the best place to start. It schools you very quickly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Did you find with the entrepreneurial tick and that? I mean, you want everything yesterday. Did you find you got angry with yourself if you couldn't do that?
Yeah, like I can do, yeah. Yeah, like I can I can feel like I'm missing out, or I can feel like um I'm not capitalizing on the situation. So it does go against my natural wiring. I guess just time and mistakes have taught me to work through that. But it's also taught me to have some people around me who are a little bit more conservative.
Yeah.
Like, for example, Dino, who's an amazing mortgage broker at MoneyQuest in Wollongong. We've done a couple of development projects together, and I love Dino because he's an accountant by nature and he's very conservative. So whenever we did some things together, we'd always counteract each other. Like I've got what makes me good at what I do is I see potential.
So you're the upbeat. Yes, that would be
Yeah,
insane.
we can do it. We can do it. I see things like I see we could do that on that side. I get creative ideas of how to do things. But it's good to have people around you also. And they're not raining on your parade, but they're people who just say, hey, but have you thought about this? Have you thought about this, this, and this?
Yeah.
And it's great. And I think it comes back to, if you know, like, you got to know what your strengths are, but you got to know what your weaknesses are. So for me, one of my weaknesses can be stripping things back and looking at the bigger, the smaller picture. Like I love the big picture,
Yeah.
but sometimes you need people who can strip it back and
Break it down a bit.
break it down a little bit.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I look at the broken down, and who cares about that? We'll worry about that later.
Yeah.
Whereas for certain things you can wing it, but when it comes to like investment developments, you can't. Sometimes you can get lucky, but most of the time you won't. And I'm not, like, for me, I'm not willing to take that risk with my own developments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've worked too hard to get to where I am now, and for me, the idea of investments and developments are to enable me to move forward, not
build a bit
not
of
to
wealth.
go back. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that the entrepreneurial tick that we're talking about really interests me, because I definitely feel like I've got that entrepreneurial tick, and it's just like you said before, you just want that itch scratch. You've gotta have it done. How did you kind of, I guess, get past? I think it's one of those things where you've got to look at it, not something that you got to get past, but does it just come back to building a team around you? Is like that kind of what you did to not be frustrated in yourself?
Yeah, look, building a team's one thing. I think in the early days, it's hard to build a team until you get the resource, especially financially,
Yeah.
to do that. I guess for me, one of the biggest things, and I think a lot of people, this is what holds a lot of people back in their life, and I know in my own life where I haven't moved forward, it's because I didn't execute. I think people undervalue the power of execution. What I say with execution is, it's just determining. Like, I could go and, like, I sat in on a webinar today with my business coach, and we're learning a lot about marketing and different things, sales and marketing. And basically, the thing I love about this business coach is that basically it's all well and good to get the education on how to do certain things, but he actually then says, execute.
Go put it into practice.
And you've got to be accountable. Like, for me, I'm accountable to that coach. And if I don't execute, it's like, well, you said you were going to do it. You didn't do it.
Yeah.
So, and I reckon in the early days as an entrepreneur, it's just deciding, hey, I'm going to execute. Like, if you want to build a social media branding company, well, it's like maybe just spend 2 minutes first part of your day in front of your camera, even if you don't have all the equipment like you guys have got, but just jump in front of a phone and speak about what you're passionate about and speak and just start to execute. More money will come in. You can start to get better equipment. You can do a lot of that. But I think a lot of people that don't execute because they say, oh, one day when I've got money, I'll do this.
Yeah.
Or one day I'll do this. Or one day, and that one day quite often doesn't come because they haven't executed and done the small things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I reckon that's a powerful thing. So now when I get ideas, like I just decide I'm going to execute, put action to it. And now I'm lucky enough I've got some team around me where it's not just me now. Like when I get ideas, I can actually get our team to execute things.
How do you distinguish between ideas that are relevant for now, ideas you can put in your back pocket, and ideas that you go, okay, that doesn't, like, yeah, that's cool, it's a cool idea, but it's not really relevant. How do you distinguish between that, and what do you do with those?
It's hard. Like sometimes I think sometimes we can overthink that too, because I think we can look at what we think's relevant or not relevant.
Yeah.
And we can then, I guess, procrastinate on that. So sometimes I heard a really good saying a couple of weeks ago, actually in a coaching session I was doing on content marketing, like creating content, which is what you guys do. And this guy said an amazing thing. He said, like, you got to put content out there and look at the engagement of that content. If people are consuming it and people are people are commenting, people are engaging with that content, that's how you know that it's relevant. That's how you know it's what people need, what people want. But the only way to find out if it's relevant is to put it out there.
Yeah, execute comes
Yeah,
back to execution.
That's it. Like, I love Gary Vee. He's one of my favorite guys for marketing.
Yeah.
And like he openly says he's created stuff and done stuff that just fell over flat. He's like, but I wouldn't have known that it would fall over flat unless I put it out there. So
Yeah.
it's like, you with your songwriting, that there'll be some songs that'll take, there'll be some songs that'll probably not take.
Yeah, but you never know.
You never know unless you put it out there for your audience.
Yeah.
And it's, it's like podcasts, like you guys, like you're going to have some guests that are going to take with some people and some that don't with others. And I just think you need to, sometimes you just got to execute on some of those ideas. And just sometimes by acting on them, it's a tricky one. I just think as an entrepreneur, I lean a little bit more to the give it a go than sit on it.
Yeah.
Because I find a lot of entrepreneurs who listen too much to the critic or the play it safe type mentality that they'll listen to too much of that play it safe.
Yeah.
So they never get to execute on some of their ideas because they get so many people in their ear just saying, if there's big financial risks, well, you need to have wisdom. But reality is a lot of our ideas, the technology at our fingertips now, we can do so much now with very little money, especially when it comes to creating content, doing a lot of that sort of stuff now. So
yeah, absolutely. So with that being said about having lots of things that are easy to help you out, I'm so interested with investments.
Yeah.
How do you know that you found like a positively geared investment off the bat? Like you say, you got to be conservative.
Yeah.
How do you actually go about finding that in today's market?
Look, a lot of it is learning to do your own research because and I'm not knocking real estate agents. I've got great real estate agents I work with, do projects for, all that sort of thing. But the reality is a lot of agents will just pump up your tires. So for me, I've learned to do my own research. So we do our own comparables. We look at what's sold, what's not selling, what is selling. Obviously, we get real estate's input too, but it only forms a small part of it.
Yeah.
So, and we get build costs, we get and we just try and make sure we're conservative on all of it. And
coming back to those numbers.
That's it. And look, if you are passionate about property, you got to invest in it. So the best thing I did for 5-6 years ago was I went to Queensland and I invested into some property investment courses. I paid quite a bit of money for those courses, but the way I look at it, they're an investment. Because one of the most powerful things we have is our knowledge of what the knowledge we consume and the education we consume. You know, for me, like the best, having a degree for me personally is not the most important thing in my life. I could have a degree and be completely useless when it comes to building business and doing a lot of that. You know, a degree is a bit of paper essentially. Yes, but if you apply the knowledge that you get from a degree, it's no different to today. If I try and consume good, valuable information, whether it be towards marketing or sales or building a business or, you know, our industry or, you know, anything I'm doing, I try and get as much knowledge as I can in that space and educate myself. And if it's something I'm not passionate about, find someone on my team who is passionate about it, make sure they're fully educated, knowledgeable, you know, and geared up to be, you know, switched on in that space.
Yeah, that was my next kind of like avenue, and you've just segued it perfectly, like education, knowledge, and all that. Because you post a lot about like reading different books. How many? I can't remember how many you've read in like the last. Was it you or was it Josh or both of you? I don't know. You both post a lot about.
He just followed his big brother, I reckon.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what do you think is? Because Josh and I, obviously, we both left school in year 10, and so we're not big believers in like the education system as a whole. What's your point of view on that kind of thing in terms of getting into business and that kind of thing?
Look, again, I might get myself in trouble, especially with teachers, for what I'm about to say. And at the end of the day, I don't really care. But look, for me, education, yes, it is important, but it is not the be all and end all in this day and age. Like, especially if you know what you want to do. Yes, to a point, if you want to be a doctor, reality is the only pathway to that is to get education. But if you're passionate about entrepreneurship, if you're passionate about business, if you're passionate about some of these things, gone is the day where you need to have education. Like I've often picked people with TAFE qualifications over degrees.
Yeah.
I've had people come in with degrees, have spent 5 years in uni and know very little about construction, for example. Right? Yeah. I've had people do 5 years of uni and not even know what a standard door size is.
Yeah.
So reality is you could learn that first year of year 10 TAFE.
Yeah.
So like education is important, but I think actually, you know, wanting to gain knowledge and become an expert in your industry is more important, and your passion or the area of your life. So if you want to be a doctor, well, reality is you're going to have to go through education.
Yeah.
But I guess my challenge with education can be this. Let's look at a lot of university lecturers, or let's look at a lot of teachers, for example. And again, I'm not knocking teachers because they do a great work. You know, I learned a lot of things at school, but this is my concern with education. I think a lot of education is institutionalized, and I believe a lot of kids get confused about what they want to do. Young guys get confused about what they want to do with their life because they get this regimented, institutionalized, one-dimensional way of education jammed down their throat that not every kid fits that mold.
Yeah.
I didn't fit that mold.
Yeah.
I wasn't born to be stuck in the education system. It didn't fit my mold. I just want to build stuff. I want to create stuff. You know, I used to get frustrated in maths. But with algebra, I used to say to the maths teacher, I will never use this in my life because I knew what I wanted to do. And you know what? I've never used it.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
Same.
And the problem is now I've got a daughter in doing math now, and I've got to somehow remember it. Luckily, my wife's good at it.
Yeah.
But, you know, the problem is like that. The challenge can be is that you get someone, they go all the way through primary school, then they go all the way through high school, then they finish high school, they go and do a teaching degree at university, do 4 years of teaching, then they go straight from 4-year teaching in university to then becoming a teacher and teaching kids. But the reality is, have they lived in the real world and worked in a job outside of education?
Yeah, they went from school to school to
100%.
school, back to school.
That's it. All they've ever done is education. And I just, like, that concerns me. Like, the teachers I learned the most from about life, that I still remember things they taught me, were teachers who had life experience. Now, I remember a couple of clear teachers who went and did education later in their life, and I tell you what, I learned so much from them. And one of them I still know and I still talk to. I respect him like crazy, but he had a different way of education. Now, I'm not knocking the education system, but I am saying that I believe a lot of it is flawed for certain humans, and I think entrepreneurs especially. Sometimes the education system can, I think, can let you down, I think, a bit at times.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just my take.
And I think it's done that for nearly all of us. It's
Yeah.
why I left when I was 15 and
16.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
100%.
it. And you look, a lot of some of the richest people in the world didn't finish school.
Yeah, 100% as well.
And I'm not knocking education, but the reality is in life, and I think life is getting more and more like this. If you want something enough, you will get it.
Yeah.
You would be amazed at the amount of people in the unemployment lines at Centrelink who have degrees.
Really?
Just because you got a degree, it doesn't guarantee you a job. You could have 3 degrees, but if you got no people skills, you got no emotional intelligence, if you got no drive to get up in the morning and actually go and do something and actually go and make something happen, the degree means nothing. Like in this day and age, I'm telling you, like it's not the be all and end all. We still need people with it highly educated, but it's not for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Like, obviously, I talked about some of the books you read. Who are some of the people that you kind of go to read and gain and acquire knowledge?
Yeah, look, I sort of go through phases. Like, I try not to read just, for example, like I try not to read just business books, or I try not to read just motivational books. I try and get a diversity. You know, like at the moment, I've been reading a lot of books about personal development because I'm a big believer that, you know, you've got to continually grow yourself and develop yourself to be better at what you do. So, you know, I've spent a lot of time the last 12 to 18 months getting healthier, getting fitter. You know, I'm fitter now.
Yeah, 100%. I can definitely notice it.
I'm way fitter now. Like,
Yeah.
I go to the gym 5 days a week. You know, I'm like for me, I want to be healthier, not just in my business, but I want to be healthier in my life. I want to be happier. I want to be, you know, I want to just look at areas where I might have been weak and get strong in.
Yeah.
So, you know, I've read a book, a scientific book on sleep.
Really?
You know, I've been someone who's very often, and a lot of entrepreneurs are like this, where you run on minimal sleep.
Yep.
Yeah, like for me, I could work like crazy and then just run off 4 or 5 hours sleep. But you know,
That's what we're doing
yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
but I've realised that, you know, for me, some of the vision and the dream and some of the stuff I want to build over the next 10 years of my life, I realised that I've got to get stronger in that area and more disciplined in that area of my life. I don't think I'll ever be an 8-hour a night sleep person, but I'm trying to sleep 7 now, and it's amazing how much more energy I've got in my day. So
Yeah.
it's disciplining myself and deciding. I used to treat it like a badge of honour. I'm only running off 4 hours sleep, you know. And I look,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
and
like an
look,
ego boost kind of
yeah,
thing. Oh, I'm doing
it's
so
like
good.
Yeah, it's like an ego boost, and it builds us up for a time. But then, you know, for me, I realise now that I'm actually probably, like, my first 4 hours of my day, though, I'm so much sharper now. I'm executing more. I don't get decision fatigue because, you know, a lot of like, reality is, I can't remember the exact number, but we make, like, it's proven that we make, I think it's 60,000 or 30,000 correct. Like, it's a large number of decisions the average human makes per day. And the reality is, the later you get in the day, you get decision fatigue. So for me, that's where I try and do my most valuable work, when I've got a freed up mind and I can execute. I've got the ability to think clearly and do my most valuable work when my mind and my brain and my energy is at its absolute maximum. Yeah.
So do you find you make all your important decisions in the morning then?
Yeah, I do. So I used to do a lot of my meetings in the morning. I used to do a lot of my low value work in the morning. I don't do that. I don't do emails in the morning because for me, emails just chew up decision fatigue because you could get 30 emails in your inbox, especially if you're a busy business person. All of a sudden, like you get overwhelmed and you're like, oh, which one do I reply to? Or checking your phone, Like when I'm working, when I'm doing my most valuable work, I put my phone on do not disturb. I turn it upside down. Sometimes I even put it in another room
Yeah.
because I don't want to get tempted to constantly just be checking it. Next thing you know, like, whereas now I could do something that might have taken 4 hours, I can smash it in 2 hours because I'm fully focused, and then I can reward myself, you know, after that 2 hours, to be able to, you know, check something out or listen to that song or do, watch that 5 minute YouTube, educational video as a bit of a reward for
Yeah.
punching out something really valuable that's going to move my business or move myself forward in
Yeah.
my, in my journey.
Yeah, that's sick, man. That's cool. That's really interesting about the decision making for me. Um, what would you say your favorite book is you've read?
Oh, there's so many. That's a tough one. Favorite book this year or
Or about of all time?
all time? Oh, all time. That's a tough one. That's a really tough
Or even
one.
like top 3.
Probably.
Yeah,
Look,
give us the 5. Give us the
let's
top 5
go.
list.
Let's go let's go an entrepreneurial book because obviously that's what we've been talking
Yeah.
about. Obviously, a lot of your podcast talks into that. Probably one of the books that I really enjoyed and probably impacted me was actually called Shoe Dog by Phil Knight, who's the founder of Nike, the guy that started Nike.
Yeah.
And if you read that book, like probably because I can relate to some of it, like he had moments when Nike just was never going to happen,
Yeah.
where it was so close to going bankrupt, so close to falling over.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a really inspiring story, like for someone who loves building business and loves that underdog story of someone who was able to get up on top. Obviously, it's one of the biggest, most recognized brands in the world now.
If not the biggest, yeah.
But, not everyone sees that. Everyone just sees Nike and just thinks they don't see
Yeah.
the pain, the sweat, the blood, the tears, the execution, the hard work, the just about losing everything that Phil had to go through to build Nike, to what we see now. Yeah. So, yeah, it may not be the best book I've ever read, but it's probably one of the most impacting books in terms of on my entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's one.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Actually, how many books do you think you've read all up? Like, are you a big reader?
I am now. It's funny. My mum actually wrote me a message maybe earlier this year because I've been posting up, not to show off or anything. Just it's actually me being accountable to people that around me that I was going to read more books this year. And
I actually liked him because like I started reading. I'm like, yeah, okay, that might be a good book to read. I'm like,
yeah,
that's cool. Yeah.
yeah. And I've had people like ask me about certain books, and I just, someone said to me, "Oh, are you doing that to show off?" I'm like, no, I'm not at all. Like, it's just me being accountable that I decided I was going to read at least 2 to 3 books a month this year.
That's a good amount.
Yeah, and look, I'm a busy person and I've got kids, I've got family, so it's not like I read 24/7. Like, I'm someone who, like, just going to the gym, some people can just go to the gym and just go to the gym and only go do their workout. I'm someone who I love working out now, but I actually take a book to the gym. Like, and this is a hack I gave a mate who was just struggling to be motivated at the gym. I'm like, mate, do you like reading? He's like, yeah. I said, well, get a book, go to the gym, and in between your sets, read.
That's
and
actually
just
smart.
just go an extra.
Right.
So I do an extra half an hour in the gym, but because what I do is I obviously I read just half a page in between sets. So it's like you're rewarding yourself with a book in between sets. And, some gym junkies will go, oh, that's not how you should do it. I'm like, you know what? It works for me. But not only am I building my body,
Building your brain.
and my strength, but I'm actually building my mentality, my brain. I'm educating myself.
Yeah.
But it's something I enjoy doing too.
Yeah.
So for me, like, a lot of people think they've got to go and take an hour out of their day to go and sit on the beach or go sit in a park or go sit somewhere and read a book. I just integrate it into part of my day. Like quite often at lunchtime, I'll read, just 5 pages of a book. I'll read, like I said, every day I take my book to the gym. And it's funny, since I've started doing it, I look around at my gym. There's a couple of guys that do it now, and it's funny, like, because you break the mold. Like, your typical gym junkie's never going to be into that. They're just going to think that's a cop out. I couldn't.
All half of them in between sets scroll on a phone anyway.
Yeah, that's it. And half the time they're checking themselves out, or they're trying to, prove something to someone. So whereas for me, I'm just trying to be stronger and a better version of me. I couldn't care less what people think if I'm reading a book, and now I even I have a sauna every day too, 5 days a week. So I even take my book into the sauna. Like,
How hot are you running the saunas? I was in Europe for 6 months. And
Yeah.
I did a lot of saunering. Got like real into it. How sort of
the one I use here in Kiama gets up to 90. Gets up to 95 if people spray a bit of water on it. I shouldn't say that on this podcast. 'Cause I don't do it, but people do. Yeah, but like 90 degrees, I do normally like half an hour. So half an hour, like I can read, you can read a couple of chapters. I normally read a couple of chapters of a book my
half hour and 90 is ridiculous.
yeah. So I've got a bit of a morning routine. Like I haven't looked after my body for a lot of years of my life because I just put all my time into people. I ran myself into the ground. I was doing so much, running churches, I was running businesses, but I was neglecting different things, and one of them was my health. And my health was it was affecting my mental health, it was affecting my emotional health, And a lot of people don't talk about this stuff. They don't get real about it, especially guys, men. But for me, I realised I had to make changes in my life because I want to make, like, I don't want to leave anything left in the tank in this life. So for me, a big thing the last couple of year and a half for me has been building my physical health, my mental health, my emotional health. So I've got a bit of a morning routine that I do. It's not for everyone, but for me, it's just something I've developed in my life to just start my day with a winning mentality and on the right foot. Some people would call that motivational. I just call that, for me, knowing how I'm wired and setting myself up for a powerful day.
Yeah. So what is your morning routine?
Yeah, so for me, I get up 5:30 in the morning, 5:30 or 6, depending on what time I go to sleep. Like, I'm not super regimented like some people are. For me, it's either 5:30 or 6, because I want a bit of flexibility of an evening.
Yeah.
And it's hard because my wife's a night person, I'm a morning person, so we've had to like communicate well on how to, have quality time, but I need to understand she likes, she's a night person. She's had to understand I'm a morning person. So yeah, for me, I get up early. I like to have an ice bath, just a 3-minute, just jump in an ice bath.
You're very similar to me.
Yeah.
Extremely similar.
Just nice and cold, about 3, 4, 5 degrees, roughly 5. Just 3 minutes, because it just gives you a massive.
Where's your ice bath?
At home.
You got like one of
I've got
Neurocover or whatever they're called?
No, I've got the one. It's it's got the little thermometer on it, so I don't have to put ice in it.
Oh, it's handy.
They're expensive, but it's great because it cleans for you and it stays. You can keep it at that constant temp.
Yeah.
So like it goes down as low as 3 degrees, I think. Yeah, so I do that. I have the same breakfast every morning, and some people think that's boring, but like
I get that too. Porridge with a cut up banana every morning.
Yeah.
After the gym.
Yep. So I do mine before the gym. As to why, I don't know. Just for me, like I go, it's just my routine. So I get up, I just have a couple of eggs, some tomato, and
It's a good breakfast.
strawberries every morning. I did a DNA test, so I discovered some of the deficiencies in my body. Like a lot of people just take supplements. Are we cool just chatting about this stuff?
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like it's helpful for business
Yeah,
people,
100%.
Oh, absolutely, man.
entrepreneurs anyway. Like I did a DNA test, so I realized there's certain things in my body that my body is lacking and missing, rather than just go to a naturopath or someone who just has a guess and tells you what you need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did the proper, legit physical DNA test.
So did you just change your diet up, or how did you go about?
Yeah, like I realised there's certain things I just got to stay away from.
Yeah.
Like obviously some stuff's normal, like you avoid sugars, avoid different stuff like that. But then you realise there's certain deficiencies in your body. So then I was able to look at that too and realise, hey, I need some of this type of food, or there's some of these deficiencies. So I've got like some supplements that I have
Yeah.
as well. So straight after brekkie, I have my supplements, and then that's my morning routine at home. And I always have a bit of quiet time in the morning. I'm a faith person too, so like I always just have a bit of quiet time.
Meditation kind of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just to remind myself of why I'm here. Everyone's different. Some people don't. Some people have got a different way of doing that. For me personally, I've got a deep faith, so that's strong to me and it's important to me. So I try and make that a part of my day. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then I'm straight to the gym. I go straight to the gym. I normally do like an hour and a half at the gym every day, in the morning. So, and then I do half an hour in the sauna. And then
I can't believe that's ridiculous.
and then I go straight.
So hot.
Then I go straight from the sauna to the rock pool here in Kiama and jump in the rock pool just for like 10, 15. And I just get straight out, get dressed, then come to work, have a coffee. So I've got,
Solid
salt
day.
water on me. I've been in the ocean. It's great.
Yeah.
That's a solid start.
Yeah,
It's a good structure, man. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, everyone is different, 100%, but a good structure like that just starts your day good.
Yeah, that's it. And, I just feel like a winner when I start my day. Like, I used to go to the gym of an evening because, like, I feel like I'm at my sharpest mentally in the morning. So I used to do a lot of work in the morning. But the problem is, like any business person, your day can go crazy. Plans can change, and next thing you know, you're like, oh, actually, you know what? I'm not going to make it to the gym today because I promised I would be at this or that. Whereas in the morning, I got no excuse.
Yeah.
I got no excuse because that's my start to my day. So even if my day goes to crap, I've done all that stuff
Yeah.
to strengthen, But I find it means I can go home energized to my family. Like I've got a family, so I can go home energized to my wife, to my kids, and I can. I've done a lot of that stuff in the morning, so I just find it works good.
I'm like, he's the same, but I'm so like, I'm different. I'm like, because I work late for gigs and stuff, I kind of, it's not healthy for me to wake up at like 5:36 if I'm getting back from a gig at like 1:30 in the morning or whatever. So I kind of just wake up around like 8:30 and then I'll have my quiet time, like meditation, whatever, praying and that kind of stuff. And then sometimes it just depends. Sometimes I have breakfast, sometimes I don't. But then I don't know. I'm a routine person, but if I make sure I plan my schedule and I plan when the gym is the day, then that's fine. I don't go to the same time every day. Like some days I go at night at like 11 o'clock and then some nights sometimes I do go at like 11 a.m. It's just random. I don't know.
And that's part of being a true musician too, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know many musicians that are like fully regimented.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Like
creative.
maybe when I was working, especially, like I feel like I was pretty regimented. Like every day I would wake up, have breakfast, and then go to work, and then go to gym straight after work. Then I'd do all my music stuff. But now since I've finished up that work and just sticking to music stuff and entrepreneurial stuff, I think it's not gone out the window, but it just changed a lot for me, and it just works for me a different way. So
Yep.
it's just whatever works.
And I find like some people aren't flexible too. Like for me, because of life, I've got a wife, I've got kids, and I've got different stuff going on. Like every 90 days, I relook at my calendar So like most business people work in 90-day cycles. I do that.
Yeah.
So I set 90-day goals. I do 90-day plans. I've got
Why 90 days? Why is that significant?
90 days is significant as a business person because it ties in with the financial quarter.
Right.
So obviously, like in Australia, we've got a financial quarter. So there's 4 quarters. So, you know, and it's obviously the end of financial year is obviously end of June.
Yeah.
Whereas it's not the end of the year.
Yeah, yeah.
So I find the beauty is like obviously as a business person, you've got to have financial goals. You've got to have different goals. Like if you're not making money in business, you're going to go bankrupt. You're going to lose it. So you got to have goals. Like a lot of people don't have goals, so because they don't have goals, that they're not going to hit anything. So that's why for me, I obviously run my businesses on 90-day plans, but I also try and run my life on that way too. And the good thing is, we've got in Australia, you've got summer sports and winter sports. I play sport, my kids play sport. So like, I've just finished cricket season. Now I'm going into hockey season.
Yeah.
Because I still play sport. So for me, like cricket's played half a day on the Saturday's gone. Whereas now cricket's finished. So I've got my Saturday back.
Yeah.
So I can change my plans and my routines now. So, and that's how I sort of work things. Like you change it up a bit.
Yeah.
For me, I'll do 6 days now in the gym. Now cricket season's over because I've got it's too hard going to the gym on the Saturday, then play half a day of cricket.
Yeah.
Whereas now hockey's only 1 hour of the week. So I'll probably I'll smash 6 days now in the gym and have 1 day off.
Yeah, I mean, talking about goals and that kind of thing, like what are some of your personal goals for this year and then also your business goals for this year?
Yeah, look, so my couple of business goals, I want to get a really strong presence in Newcastle. So like we've had a small start in Newcastle, but I really want to ramp Newcastle up. Another goal of our company here in our Kiama office is where we've set up this new office. We've renovated it about a year and a half ago. We're now in the second phase, which is setting it up as a co-working space, and we're going to build a podcast studio. Because Mel and I are both kicking off some podcasts.
Yep.
I'm going to do one very much geared towards property investment. And Mel's, I can't talk about Mel's yet.
Yeah, it's still a secret. She told me a little bit about it.
She's probably told you.
She asked me, she just asked me about, I think she got me to make some little intro or something for her.
Yeah, she did. Yeah, I remember her telling me that. Yeah, so look, that's exciting.
Yeah.
So there are a couple of goals, and for us this year where we've expanded our team, a couple more team members starting. Yeah, so that's been a big thing for us. And look, for me personally, one of them was read 2 to 3 books a month. That was just like a goal to push myself a bit, to read a diverse range of different things. I don't personally have like weight loss goals or numerical goals in terms of my fitness. For me, it was just about, my goal was just to go to the gym 4 days a week, and eat really clean, and so I've stuck to that for like 18 months now consistently, and I'm just going to keep doing that at a new level. Yeah. And like my wife and Mel and I had a goal to buy a house this year, which we move in Easter.
Oh, nice.
Oh, sick.
Exciting.
Congratulations, Roz.
Yeah. And again, that goes back to that real conversation about, in your life you have disappointments. For me, one of the disappointments was not being able to buy a house. So that's been a 3-year goal to work hard to be able to buy a house for my family. And I remember 4 years ago, I said to someone, I'm going to buy a house. I'm going to get a house with no mortgage. And the average Aussie takes 30 years to pay off a mortgage.
Yeah, that's insane. So you
so
own
four,
your house.
Yeah, so 4 years ago, I set a goal. And again, when I say it's a goal for this year, that was a goal I set 4 years ago.
Yeah.
But it's a goal that's coming to fruition this year. So I set a goal I'd have a house with no mortgage.
Yeah, wow.
So
you're going to have a house with no mortgage?
So
our
first house with no mortgage. Now,
wow.
And I'm not saying that to pump up my tyres, but the reality is I had to work hard and do some of the developments and some of the different things I've done. And I've even had, and I've had a couple of, some people might call them miracles, or other people might call them good luck.
Yeah.
Call it whatever you want. I just think I'm lucky, I'm blessed. But yeah, we had some things fall into place where some money came out of nowhere that we didn't expect from somewhere. And yeah, we're moving into a place with no mortgage. So
Where are you moving?
Flinders in Shell Harbour, yeah.
Where I'm living.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
See
So
that?
yeah, but we've already got a goal for our next property, like for our, our next house.
Nice.
But like you got to have goals. You got to have things you're working towards. Yeah. So, and we've got other goals, like things we want to do. Like we want to make a difference. Like I'm helping my dad do stuff in Africa. Dad's half African now. Like he's just doing stuff over in Africa.
Really, what's he doing in Africa?
Oh, like he's building like facilities over there. He's helping fund nurses, for example.
Oh,
Like
sick.
this little village, there was this nurse, and she was working we're talking 14-hour days, 7 days a week. Hadn't had a holiday in like 5 years. So I went over to Kenya with my dad last year, and yeah, this poor lady was so run off her feet. So Dad was able to set it up so we can fund 2 more nurses now for this whole community of like 7,000-8,000 people.
Far out.
So stuff like that. Like for me, it's not about getting rich. Like my drive has never been about money. It's been about what you can do with money, what you can do with resources to make a difference in the world. So, I find money doesn't drive me. It doesn't get me up in the morning. Ideas do, vision does. But at the same time, I've got things I want to do in my life to make a difference in this world, that it's going to require resources. It's going to require money.
Yeah.
So that's why I believe I've got a big vision for things I want to do, so that I can actually distribute things, to make a difference in the world.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We could finish that there. That's an amazing
I reckon.
ending.
Yeah, I reckon to wrap it up. We usually have a closing tradition of a closing question.
For a guest.
Yeah. Out of all your life experience, what is your number one piece of advice from all your life experience? Like, what's the biggest thing you've learned?
Yeah, probably. That's a really good question.
Take your time we always give guests.
Yeah, that's
Second.
great. I think probably the best bit of advice I could give to anyone listening, and hopefully it's advice, hopefully it helps you like it's helped me, but I guess don't ever underestimate the value of what's been placed in you as a person. I think a lot of people underestimate what's in them and what they're capable of. And I know for a long time, I probably undervalued what I'm capable of doing. Like a lot of times in my life I have done it, but I've probably like the last couple of years, more than ever, I'm starting to really understand what's in me and what I'm capable of being able to do in my life. Not just for me, but to help others as well.
Well, awesome. That's great.
That was
man.
good.
And that's Nathan Battishall, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
mate.
Thanks for having me.
Really appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah, it was good.
It was great to
Good.
meet you too.
Yeah, good to chat.
Yeah. It was awesome.
Yeah, no, it was sweet. Yeah, I think we'll wrap it up there.
Yeah.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Or just do what you want.
Nah,
do
like
it,
and
please.
subscribe. Follow on Apple Podcasts and leave a review on Spotify as
Or
well.
if you just listen, we'll be stoked. Don't even worry.
Sweet.
Awesome.
All right.
Unreal.
Unreal.
Sick
Thanks,
podcast.
guys.
Awesome.
Thank you. That was good.
Hopefully that was valuable for you.
Yeah, it was he's good.
That was really good, man.